G'day everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. It is so good to see you. Today I want to talk about the permafrost. I want to talk about the hydrocarbons and what lies beneath. What the hell am I talking about? Here's the thing. Obviously there's a lot of conversation around what Canon have dropped in the market and what that might mean to the market. And I'm disheartened to see that those who are Sony enthusiasts, and of course it's not all, but it is some, are aggressively coming out of the blocks suggesting that what Canon has done is not perhaps market leading, it's not perhaps awesome, and that perhaps Sony is now no longer the clear leader of the pack. I'm sad about this because at the end of the day, Canon pushing ahead the industry, even if generation 1 doesn't record for long, might overheat, all that sort of stuff, it's still a push forward, and a push forward from one of the old guard is positive for everybody. It's positive for Sony users as well. Sony users would not want to see Sony sitting at the top and not innovating further. They wouldn't want to see that. For example, the Sony a7S III has been how long in the making? A very long time. Now, I'm not saying this to say, nani nani na na. That's not what this is about. This is about someone who's been in the photography industry for a very long time. And all I want to see is the industry surviving, the industry continuing to innovate and evolve and improve. And whatever it takes, whatever camera company is ahead, it actually doesn't matter to me. I waited years for Nikon to go from cropped sensor to 35mm between 2004 and 2007. It took them 3 years, much longer than it took Canon. Waiting, change of leadership, change at the top. It's completely normal, yet there is so much resistance in certain quarters of the community out there that this should change. And I don't understand it. Let's go back to my original point though, which is the permafrost and what lies beneath. What I'm talking about here is an assumption. Yes, Sony have had an amazing 7-year run when it comes to the mirrorless 35mm detachable lens space. Yes, they have. And yes, they've led the way. Absolutely true. All of this is true. And yes, they make products that are compelling to many, many people. No one's taking that from Sony. No one wants to take that from Sony. I don't. Perhaps there are others that do, but I certainly don't. I think it's all great. And yes, Sony taking the leadership in mirrorless has meant that I'm shooting on a Nikon camera today, which can photograph me and keep me in focus, which is something that Nikon couldn't do in 2017 with, say, the D850 without having an operator. So I am thankful for Sony for pushing the market, and in the last few days I have been thankful to Canon for pushing the market, and I think respect where respect is due. So respect to Sony for kicking the current generation off, and respect for Canon for coming up and meeting the market and giving us some new things to think about, even if they're not perfect. But Sony cameras are not perfect either. So everyone just relax. What we've looked at though is data. What lies beneath? We've looked at data. We've looked at the data of sales of mirrorless cameras, and Sony's been able to say, oh, we sell the most mirrorless cameras, so we're awesome. Sure, true, great. But I think some pretty compelling data is hiding in the shape of Nikon and Canon users. Now, on my channel, I read comments from hundreds of people every week. The anecdotal evidence on my channel is something in the order of 40% of people are probably still working on a DSLR. It could be 40 to 50% of people still working on a DSLR. And most of those people have not bought a camera in the last 3 or 4 years. Most of them. And the reason being is that they are a Nikon or Canon user who has seen mirrorless coming, have seen their brand, Nikon or Canon, are coming to market, and then they brought their first generation products to market. They were still holding off, and now they're bringing their second generation products to market. So what you have is a whole swathe of Nikon and Canon users that haven't purchased anything. They haven't purchased anything new for 3, 4 or more years. They might have purchased something second-hand. There's plenty of D850s and D750s and D610s in the Nikon space second-hand, as people have been moving to mirrorless. So you literally have data, or more to the point, you literally don't have data on hundreds of thousands of people who are yet to upgrade. They've been waiting for the second generation of cameras. Canon have now dropped their second generation of cameras. And I am already hearing in the comments, well, now this is the time for me to jump in. I'm also reading in the comments with the videos that I've made, say this one here, people who are saying, well, the 7S, the 6S, they're now here, it's time for me to jump. So ultimately what I'm saying is there's tens, if not hundreds of thousands of users that are not part of the data, the mirrorless data that exists at this point in time. Let's just choose some numbers that I think are going to be conservative, but let's say there's 1 million Nikon users and 2 million Canon users who are still waiting for the mirrorless moment. And now, with these new announcements, the R5 and the 6 and the 7S, this is their time. So suddenly, both of their user bases are going to buy. And suddenly, their numbers are going to change. Sony does not have this legacy user base. They don't. They started doing this in 2013. So I don't see the same hidden users in the permafrost. They're not frozen. They haven't been there for how long it's been since they last upgraded. They don't exist. I'm not having a go at Sony. This in no way reflects on how good Sony are at making cameras. This is a discussion of logic around the fact that I think there are a lot of users, basically, that are going to come out of the woodwork. They've been waiting for the second gen mirrorless in their brand of choice, may it be Nikon or Canon, and now that it's happening, they're going to come out and they're going to buy in droves. And what does this mean? Well, it means that when we look in a year's time, 18 months time, at the data around who's selling the most mirrorless cameras, I think there's a very good chance that Canon will be at the top, and I think there's a very good chance that Sony and Nikon will be very, very close to each other. I think these hidden users who have been waiting, and logically they've been waiting, it makes sense to wait for the second generation product. They're going to make a big impact on this market. Now, Sony still they may pick up some Canon and Nikon users who were kind of waiting for the second gen, and then Sony do something out of the box. They may. As a betting man who's bet on myself in small business for 30 years, I would kindly and warmly suggest it would be in the minority of users. Because I think the offerings from Sony, Nikon and Canon within the next 12 to 18 months are going to be so similar that people are going to just simply buy whichever camera they like the feel of, because the specs are going to be that similar. The reality is, as photographers, honestly, 20 frames per second at 45 megapixels, which is what we're seeing in the R5, personally, I don't see much requirement for any more. If you want 60 megapixels, then, you know, I think it's okay to accept a lower frame rate. So from a photography perspective, at this point, in 2020, in the year of this world, photographers are spoiled. And then when it comes to the video wars, well, those that are interested in video they will buy their camera based on their requirements. And if someone wants to play with 8K, well, they'll buy an R5 right now. We don't quite know what Sony are going to be doing with the A7S III and the A7 IV, but they will offer strong video specs, I'm sure. And for those that perhaps want 4K or 6K, 120 frames per second, Sony will be a nice place to go. And also the Canon, whatever Canon continue to do, they're also a robust place. And I believe Nikon will follow up with a little bit from what Canon are up to and a little bit with what Sony are up to, and the Nikon cameras will sit perhaps slightly below Sony and Canon, but because all of these specs are so ridiculously high today, it's going to be more than enough anyway. So, what lies beneath? What's hidden in the permafrost? I think there are a lot of Canon and Nikon users yet to pull the trigger on mirrorless. When they do, and that time is coming because the Gen 2 cameras are way more exciting than the Gen 1 cameras, I think we're going to see a lot of purchases just suddenly happening out of nowhere. I feel it in my comments. There's a lot of people who've been hanging and waiting, and once they can see, say, a replacement for their D500, their D5, their D750, their D610, their D850, they'll move, and I think those cameras are coming. What lies beneath? Alright everybody, thank you so much for being here today. It is so good to see you as always. If this is your first time here, please subscribe. I'd love to see you again. Please like, please share. Makes us all smarter. And you know, that's what books were about. Sharing knowledge. And that's how we got smarter. And if you want to see some more of me right now, click down below on the Matter of Photography and you can watch over 200 episodes right now. Alright? Ciao. See you soon.